Well, it's early December, which means the return of a couple of things. One, hot cocoa, and the other, the war on Christmas! Yes, the war on Christmas, because everything has to be a war in this country. All you have to do is look at the names of our reality shows to see just how warlike our country is. As Bill Maher once said, we're the people who invented the salad shooter. We sell video games that promote themselves by screaming stuff like this from our TVs.
The glorious, mind-blowing freedom of all-out war?
Glorious. Mind-blowing. Freedom. We're so addicted to war that we've turned the simple act of saying a phrase you don't like into an act of war. We decided that this is the same as doing this. And why? Because people are acknowledging somebody else's holidays too? I've never understood this thing where people feel persecuted because somebody else is being allowed to have what they have. It's the holiday season. Every major religion has a holiday this time of year, and there's a completely secular holiday in New Year's Eve. But instead of saying, hey, look at all these things that connect us, we're so similar, we're together, some people just use it as a way to divide us. Just because organizations like governments and businesses want to represent all of those things doesn't mean they're trying to take away your specific holiday. Basically, people are just mad that their holiday isn't being forced on other people. I don't know what you call that. It makes no sense to me. I don't think there's a word for it. The Germans probably have a word. I have a dog, and I believe it should be able to shit in your yard. No, I don't want your dog to shit in my yard. You're trying to take away my dog! What? Here we go with the war on dogs again. No, war? You people aren't gonna be happy until you round up all the dogs and shoot them in the head. I've got a dog. Seriously, if you're pissed off that a store said Happy Holidays but you're perfectly fine with the fact that 5 people got trampled to death in that same store trying to buy a video game system so that their kids could spend 8 hours a day enjoying the
glorious, mind-blowing freedom of all-out war?
I think you're the one that's forgotten the reason for the season. Eric Grubbs asked, what are the benefits of shooting on film versus digital? Well, there are pros and cons of both. Film's actually much more forgiving in terms of color and light exposure. When you're working with film, if you just get the camera in the right f-stop neighborhood, you can usually come up with a pretty great image, and even if not, you can correct for it afterwards. And if it's overexposed or underexposed, there's still usually a pretty good amount of information you can pull from there. With digital, if you overexpose, you overexpose. There's nothing you can do with it. There's no information to pull from there. And to add to that problem, it actually has a much lesser luminance range than film does, so you have to be really careful when you're lighting to moderate it and keep within that range. On the upside, with digital, you get to see what you shot automatically. You can see right there whether you got what you need, whether there's something that went wrong, and you can fix the problem right on the spot. With film, you have to send it out to a lab, wait at least a day for it to get all done, send back dailies, and then take a look at it. And in that case, usually, if you missed a shot or something went wrong, then it's just gone. You just can't get it back again unless you reshoot it again. Basically, if you know what you're doing and pay a lot of attention to the lighting, you can do some really great stuff with digital. And with advancements like high resolutions and 4K and 444 color space, it's almost indistinguishable from film. Almost. But I, like most filmmakers, have a real soft spot for film, and I don't think anything will ever completely take its place. And now for a segment I like to call, This is Sure to Piss Off Someone I Love. There's a cartoon that's been making its way around the social media for a while now that explains how to deal with introverts, usually accompanied by a screaming headline that I'm sure was designed in no way to get more page views. It says, "This guy deserves a Nobel Prize." Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison to get his Nobel Prize. This guy should get one for drawing a cartoon of a guy in a hamster wheel. The cartoon has ignited the passions of introverts everywhere because it presents a new way of looking at introversion and gives a handy guide for extroverts, the more extroverted people, on how to deal with introverted people. It espouses a fairly new way of looking at introversion and extroversion where it says that, extroverts kind of gain energy by being around other people, whereas introverts give more energy and then need to kind of re-energize later by spending time to themselves. And introverts have really rallied around this new framing because they spent their entire lives being told that they're weird and that they don't fit in and they're, standoffish and everything, when really they're all just trying to explain that, I don't hate other people, sometimes I just need to spend time with me. But I do have a few problems with this new way of looking at it for a few reasons. One, let's just be fair, this is a very introvert-centric way of looking at it because it kind of paints introverts as the ones that give more than receive, and extroverts are kind of viewed as sponges. But I also don't think this really paints a full picture of the whole introversion-extroversion thing because by this definition, I'm an extrovert because I enjoy being around other people and I do feel more energized, and I certainly don't feel like I need to, re-energize myself by being alone afterwards. But at the same time, being social doesn't come naturally to me. Like, I have to force myself to go out sometimes. I literally have to, like, negotiate with myself to get me to do it. Okay, tonight you can stay in, but tomorrow night you have to go out, because that would make 3 weekends in a row that you've spent Saturday night sitting at home watching old Quantum Leap episodes, and you don't want to be that person. If I go to a party and I don't know anybody there, I will literally just stand up against the wall and just pray inside my head that somebody thinks I look interesting enough to talk to. I would rather pluck my nose hairs than go up and introduce myself to a stranger. So what does that make me? I mean, according to all the old definitions, I'm definitely an introvert, but according to this definition, I'm apparently an extrovert. Maybe I'm just inverted. Maybe it's a little bit like autism. Like, once upon a time they thought you either had it or you didn't, but now we know there's this whole spectrum of autism. Maybe there's a whole spectrum of verts. Like, there's a guy I know who's the most extroverted person in the world, but he's so painful to watch because he's so socially awkward. And then there are other people that claim to be introverts, but they have parties all the time. I don't know. I don't know what I am. I don't know what you are. I don't know what anybody is. You know, one thing that's actually kind of great about getting older is you get to know a lot of people, and you get to know them for a very long period of time, and the longer that you know them, the more you see how complex and nuanced people can be, and it's kind of a beautiful thing if you look at it the right way. So I say, don't feel like you need to fit into any kind of box, don't feel like you need to define yourself by being one thing or another, just be yourself, just do what you do, and enjoy it.